Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of Podiatry Marketing. With me, as usual, my partner in crime, Big Jim Mack. How you doing today, Jim?
Tyson, I'm doing well. I'm kind of that time of year here in Oregon where I can't decide if I do I grow the beard out, do I not grow the beard out? It's
Oh,
like to beard or not to beard. That is the question
that is
right
the
now.
question. Yeah, well, you can see mine here if people are watching the video.
Is that a
Yeah,
baby's butt?
there.
Why are you showing me a baby's
I know. You see it there. I have not shaved in 6 days.
butt?
How impressive is that? I tidy it up, but the little goatee
Sure.
and under my nose, which is all grey, yeah, that's 6 days worth right there.
Very nice.
So I'm a hairy beast. So there's a rumor that you're going to be sharing your word of the year today.
Yeah, so you shared yours there a little while
It's
ago.
about time since the year's almost over.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had to definitely get it in the first quarter, otherwise this couldn't be a
Yeah.
topic. But yeah, so my word of the year this year is consistency. And I was happening to read through, you kind of come across quotes here and there online, and sometimes I subscribe to some newsletters. And something that really struck me a few weeks ago is, and I know this, and this is a pretty simple quote, but it's intensity is common, consistency is rare. And you know, not that I compare myself to other people, but I'm pretty consistent in what I do. I show up with you here every week. We do a
Yeah.
podcast together. We've been doing it for over 3 years now. So, I
I
mean,
know. I saw the
there's,
anniversary thing come up a couple of weeks ago and I went, it's been 3 years already.
I know. So, I mean, so there's certain aspects of my life where I'm consistent. If I have a goal to train for a marathon, I'm pretty good about, getting the training in. So I'm not going to just suffer for, 3 or 3.5 hours. But, it just kind of came to me here recently that as consistent as I am, I really, as I'm getting into my late 40s, now's the opportunity just to kind of take some of these lessons learned and, just try to do good work every day and try to squeeze as much work or as many hours out of the day as possible because, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, I'm not going to want to do that anymore. And it's just a kind of a challenge I have for myself this year, just to like, really try to do great work, but do it on a consistent basis because I really feel like those little increments, an extra half an hour sometimes, if you have the energy, you kind of add that up day over day, week after week, month after month. It can really make big steps and big leaps. So that's what I'm looking forward to start off this 2025.
And consistency sounds easy. Oh, well, I'm just going to do this each day. But life is full of distractions. That's the difficult part.
Yeah, we have a lot of things competing for our time, right? I mean, I'm a dad. I've got two kids. Like for example, tonight I was driving around town from one soccer practice to the next. It was like 3 hours of logistics and, me being the soccer dad. So, I mean, there's always things that can get in the way. But, as I get older, you have to really prioritize and set time aside for obviously your work I
Yeah.
love providing great work for the people that I do, but setting aside time for my family to be present, not only as their soccer dad, but also at home with them to help with homework and do things like that. But then also, we're not getting younger, Tyson, so our health has to be a priority. So,
Oh, well, you mightn't be getting any younger, but
but
no, I know what you mean.
what are those, habits that I'm a runner and I like to go for running, but how can I be more consistent doing that? Whether it's, stretching, strengthening, diet. So there's little things I'm implementing this year, trying to really kind of build trust in myself, so I can kind of do those things I want to do you know, as I get into my 50s and my 60s, I can still be active and do things I want to do.
Yeah, it's true. It's like what you said about the age. My mind thinks I'm 25, but my body thinks I'm an idiot.
Well, I've had like a course of like running injuries here over the last, 3 to 6 months. A couple things kind of laid me up for a little while. It makes me realize that, you know, I'm not as bulletproof as I used to be, right? So you can't
Yeah.
just get away with going out for, a 7 or 8 mile run and then not stretching or doing some foam rolling and things like that. So I just really realize now that I have to kind of bake these things in and set aside time for them. Otherwise, I'll be laid up for another, 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, but I like what you said though about the building trust in yourself. Because I think when you are consistent, you say you're going to do something on a regular basis and you start doing it, the more the more I think it's a conscious action that you're doing, where you're thinking about having to do it. I think you build the trust yourself. But I think eventually, with that consistency, it then becomes like a bit of it becomes a habit, and then you probably don't even think about it. Like all the consistent things that you want to do. It's like us doing the podcast. I don't really think about, oh, we're consistently doing it. We just do it because we've been doing it for so long.
No, absolutely. It's just kind of like part of our week, right? It's just been this time together and have these conversations. And I will say that, whether it's the culture or the media or entertainment, consistency is not sexy.
Yeah,
Just doing a little bit of something every day on a consistent basis, or getting out at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning for a workout or something. Like it doesn't feel very glamorous. Sometimes you see people on social media maybe kind of bragging about their schedule or what they're doing, and maybe there's a little bit of a flex there more now than there used to be. But we're used to movies where the coach gives some crazy pump up speech, right? Like it's like
yeah,
everything's in a lot, at least in American and North American culture, it's like it's this inspirational speech is then going to lead to like an amazing performance. But when you really think about the top level performers, it's not necessarily they just had like one intense effort that led them to be who they are. It is that consistent amount of work or dedication to a craft over long periods of time that lead to that. Me being a distance runner, as much as I would like to think that I was consistent, I loved working really hard in workouts. That intensity is what, makes you feel like you're doing something. But, you know, as I've getting older, and I'm running, marathons and even longer stuff, I just realized more and more that intensity has its place, but it's really those that are consistent over long periods of time. That, the the rabbit and the tortoise and the rabbit, situation. The tortoise. I'm becoming more of a tortoise as time goes on, I think.
yeah. So are you looking at like all aspects of your life? So it's not just consistency as in work. You're looking at your own health, what you're eating, everything else that you're basically doing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pick it apart a little bit, right? Like, what kind of daily decisions am I making? If I'm sitting around helping out one of my clients and I've got, 15 minutes to go grab a snack, like, have I set myself up in an opportunity where I'm going to either grab some granola and some yogurt and maybe some nuts or something healthy, or am I going to go grab
Ice cream.
Oreo cookies or Ritz crackers with sharp cheddar cheese? I mean,
Yeah.
I have the
All
ability to
still
go buy
good.
those things if I want to and eat those if I choose to, but, in 10 years or 20 years from now, and I'm older and not as agile as I used to be, like, I think some people also with your health, like I said, it's not only the work aspect, but like there's this little incremental things that happen over long periods of time we don't always realize.
Mm.
Um, you don't gain 50 pounds or 100 pounds, over the course of like 2 days. It's just like habits and, either a lack of consistency. Some people, but it's just one of those things where you have to kind of like, you have to make these daily decisions. So how can you put yourself, whether it's, when I go out for morning runs or morning workouts, did I put out my clothes the night before?
Yeah.
Little like give yourself little wins and making it a little bit easier to do some of these things, whether it be having good food in the fridge, writing out a clear schedule, what tomorrow's workday is going to be like. So you can really know, and it can always change, right? But like when you have that written down, I think it just kind of puts you more onto, it makes good decisions more on autopilot and you can be more consistent with it.
I like that what you said about the planning though. When you said like you're gonna be working with clients throughout the day, and the same as I do. So planning ahead, okay, when I have this break and this break, what am I going to eat at those particular times that's going to be a good decision over a bad decision? Because like I'm addicted to ice cream. I just love it. And I say, well, why do you keep buying it? She goes, why do you keep eating it? She goes, you don't have to eat it. But I will during the day. Like I get up at 5 o'clock every morning, go to the gym, 6 a.m., catch up with the same group of people there. We have a great time. But I plan that I know at a certain time, I'll have my breakfast and a certain time at lunch I'm going to eat. And same thing, I've already worked out exactly what I'm going to eat beforehand. And if I know that and it's there, I do the right thing. It's when I haven't thought about it and I go, damn it, I'm hungry. Everything sweet looks good.
No, absolutely. I'm a total fiend for like Ritz crackers and cheese. I mean, I could just eat it like nonstop for days, but I know that there'll be a price for that. It won't be tomorrow. It may not be the next day, but someday down the road, um, it would have made sense to eat something a little more healthy. Um, the next section, I would say it's like also consistency when it comes to personal and professional relationships. And that seems kind of, what do you mean by being consistent with that? I think it's setting like expectations about how, when you're consistent with what you're doing, it allows other people to interact with you in ways that they kind of understand, where you're coming from and what you're doing. If you're kind of up and down, you're intense for a month and then
Yeah.
you're if you're not communicating well, or there's just not a good flow of information back and forth, whether it be in a personal situation or in a professional situation. I think it makes things much easier when you have kind of clear expectations around consistency of communication, and passing information back and forth can be really helpful. So what that means, like, generally when I work with clients, I'm always available for email, but we kind of dig into the nitty gritty on a quarterly basis to determine practice goals and then set, you know, what do they want to be doing for the next 3 months in their practice. So I think it's really important that, there is that obviously daily communication, but also comes to goals and expectations, setting those goals on a quarterly basis can be really helpful.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast and there was this guy talking who does coaching for billionaires. So obviously knows his stuff. But he has a business coach. And that business coach rings him up every morning for the last 27 years or something. And actually says to him, yeah, have you done this today? And the person that was interviewing him said, every day for 27 years. He goes, yeah, he consistently does it every day for 27 years. He goes, the reason he does it though, is because he knows I'm an undisciplined bastard. He goes, if I'm left to my own devices, I won't do what I said I was going to do. But so the other guy consistently maintains that contact with him to make sure that it keeps him on track because he is undisciplined.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. Is there, if you know that something you struggle with, finding an account, accountability buddy or partner,
Yeah.
maybe they don't need to be more consistent. Maybe they need something else from you. So, but just having that person you can check in with, and they can be like, hey, Tyson, how's it been going with your ice cream? Have you cut that down at all, or
Oh, I've cut it back,
did
cut it right back.
how many
I've
pints
only,
did you how many pints did you eat this week? Just making it to hold you accountable can be,
oh,
it is one of those things where, it doesn't always have to be totally on your shoulders. Obviously, you have to be the one that takes those actions, but sometimes having, accountability to somebody else can be a helpful way.
yeah, and I know at the gym, yeah, the Muay Thai gym, we're all like that. Most of us are fairly disciplined, but we're all, if somebody's not going to go that morning, they will contact the other person, say, oh, I'm not going to be there today. And we all give them hell. Why? And next thing they turn up.
No, for sure. And I think there can also be benefits, whether it be, kind of figuring out what are some kind of key performance indicators. They don't have to be super, ridiculous, but like I will sometimes, look at my iPhone has like the health app, right? And I can see the days that I either did a workout or if I did,
Okay.
if I was able to walk, 10,000 steps, it has those rings that close. So, you
Yeah.
know, maybe I want to try to get to the point where I'm doing at least 25, maybe it's 25 workouts a month, or maybe it's 25 ring closes, trying to get 10,000 steps on each of those days. Maybe it's, the number of miles you run a week or run per month. Maybe it's how many times you make it to the gym and do a session. I think it's also really important is not to, like, especially as you're getting into whether it be health or diet and those things, that not feel like it's like an all or nothing situation. You're gonna have setbacks. You don't have to be like, if you fall off the wagon on, week 2 or week 3 doesn't mean that the whole year is shot. Obviously we're doing the word of the year, but have some grace when it comes to, like, you're making some behavioral changes, or you're trying to be more consistent. It's okay to, like, well, I just didn't have it then, or I got injured so I couldn't do that. But it's never too late to kind of restart that streak or that pattern. So I think that's an important thing, is to have some of these kind of
That's
key
a really good
performance
point.
indicators to, like, help you feel, it doesn't always have to be, you know, uh, you know, these exact numbers that make you feel, as much as sometimes the low numbers might make you feel not great, but just, feeling motivated by some of these numbers.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point though, is you can be super consistent, but if something just falls off track, if I eat 2 pints of ice cream, a pint would just be a taste. But if you ate ice cream, or if you're saying you're not going to drink and you have a drink, or you're giving up smoking and you have a smoke, if it's that consistent behavior leading up to it, and it's a consistent behavior afterwards, which I think is important, that you can get straight back on track. And I think that's the thing, by measuring it, you know when you're off track. So do you have a ritual with your consistency? Is there a ritual that you're planning to go through each day? Is there a set structure? Do you have it written down like in a brain book? Do you have it in a Google Calendar? Is there something that you use to prompt to remind you of your word of the year? Because I know I do with mine.
Yeah, so my Google Calendar is kind of like my kind of like just how I'm kind of running my personal and professional life, just to have everything on that calendar. Um, so that, and I have that quote kind of like on my laptop as far as the background goes, so I can kind of take a look at it and kind of be reminded of it.
Yeah.
That's
What
what
was the quote again? That was what you said right at the beginning.
Yeah, so I said, intense, I think it was, let me see here again. I always kind of forget it.
Yeah, that's right.
Look on my
Because
laptop.
when you said it, I heard some noise and I missed the first word that you said.
Yeah,
I went,
so
damn it.
intensity is common, consistency is rare.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so that's, like I said, so I have that, um, you know, on my
And
computer
that's a
on my,
difference, but that's the difference between the word of the year and like a resolution. A resolution usually has intensity at the beginning, but there's no follow through.
no, exactly. Let's look, we talked about those, those coach movies, right? Whether it be,
Yeah.
go out and win one, or, we got to go take down the bad guy. It's never just necessarily a consistent thing over time. It's got to be wrapped up, I guess, in 2 hours for movies and for basketball games. But yeah, it is one of those things where, yeah, I think the key is like you talked about, having, whether it's a brain book or some kind of document, kind of go back and look at it as a kind of a daily reminder. It doesn't have to hit you over the head with it, but it's something that just, it's there and you're kind of using that.
Mm.
But then I think it's also that, and we touched on it briefly, and you like this idea, but it is like, what are those kind of like things that make your life easier for kind of your future self? I think we need to live in the moment, and we need to like not plan, too far ahead. Like I said, my goal is to really kind of be consistently in the moment each day. But, if I lay my workout clothes, out for me, and I can go change and go do it instead of having to ruffle through my drawers. Do I have a clean pair of socks? Where are my shoes at? Where's my GPS watch? If all that stuff is already the night before laying out on my chest of drawers and ready for me just to put it on. And
Mm.
there's a lot of other things, even in your professional life, right? Are you reviewing, kind of your employee, there's things you can do, to kind of, those kind of cheat codes, I would say, that help kind of facilitate this consistency, so it can be more, something that can be achievable, I would say.
Yeah, I like your future self. He's a good guy.
That's the thing. Like
Well,
I tell my kids that sometimes, right? They're throwing their shoes, or their room is dirty. I'm like, just be kind to your future self, that somebody else is going to have to clean up
yeah.
that,
Well, your
in the
future
future.
self has to do it. But it's true
Exactly.
though. It's like what decisions are you going to make today that your future self are going to thank you for?
Right.
And I don't know, do I ever tell you that we do this every year at home here, that we actually write a letter to our future self at the beginning of the year? So when we put the Christmas tree away on the 1st of January, I've done this for so many years, but I've got my wife doing it now and my daughter, and we write a letter to our future self, and we all open it up on the 1st of December. And it's just a letter of what we're thinking right now and how we see the year planning out. And we're writing, "Hello, Tyson, how you doing?" This is past Tyson talking to you. And it's really weird. And it was funny, this year I opened up and I had $50 in there. I totally forgot to put it in there. And it was a little note that said, "Hey, go and buy yourself a carton of beer." And I went, "Thank you, past self." And you think you remember what you wrote? And I wrote it, yeah, a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And it's in the box. I cannot remember what I wrote. I have no idea. So when you're reading it back, you're actually having a bit of a laugh. But that is just something that Yeah, this is with the whole future self. Your future self thanks you for the decisions you make today.
No, and like you said, you can only live in the present, right? Obviously, we can plan our future. We want to have, where do we want to be in 5 or 10 years? Those are great things, but really, I think, like I said, you know, and whether it be professional or personal, you can get the most out of what you're doing in your professional life just by, trying to, kind of take those actions on a consistent basis. It can really move far, and in your personal life, for example, me, like my kids will be around home for the next 10, 12 years, and then, they'll be living their own lives, right? So if I
Yeah.
don't take advantage of each day, to spend with them, to do things with them. Life is short, so you got to try to enjoy the time you have with the people you care about and the job or the profession that you love doing.
Yeah, and I like how you use the word consistency, and it's not just work related. You're actually using it in your personal life as well.
Yeah, it's super important.
Okay, Big Jim, anything else to say before we wrap up?
No, I think that's a good place to end there, Tyson.
Okay, so anyone listening to this, if you have not chosen a word of the year, you can do it at any time. You can it could be 1 month. If you're listening to this in November, you can still choose a word of the year, finish strong on it, and then choose another one next year.
Good plan.
Okay, I'll talk to you next week.
Bye, Tyson.
Okay, see ya.